In the field of artificial intelligence, a genetic algorithm is a search heuristic that mimics the process of natural selection. This heuristic is routinely used to generate useful solutions to optimization and search problems. Genetic algorithms belong to the larger class of evolutionary algorithms, which generate solutions to optimization problems using techniques inspired by natural evolution, such as inheritance, mutation, selection, and crossover. Methodology. Optimization problems in a genetic algorithm. A population of candidate solutions to an optimization problem is evolved toward better solutions. Each candidate solution has a set of properties which can be mutated and altered. Traditionally, solutions are represented in binary as strings of 0s and 1s, but other encodings are also possible. The evolution usually starts from a population of randomly generated individuals, and is an iterative process, with the population in each iteration called a generation. In each generation, the fitness of every individual in the population is evaluated. The fitness is usually the value of the objective function in the optimization problem being solved. The new generation of candidate solutions is then used in the next iteration of the algorithm. Commonly, the algorithm terminates when either a maximum number of generations has been produced, or a satisfactory fitness level has been reached for the population. A typical genetic algorithm requires a genetic representation of the solution domain, a fitness function to evaluate the solution domain. A standard representation of each candidate solution is as an array of bits. Arrays of other types and structures can be used in essentially the same way. The main property that makes these genetic representations convenient is that their parts are easily aligned due to their fixed size, which facilitates simple crossover operations. Variable length representations may also be used, but crossover implementation is more complex in this case. Tree-like representations are explored in genetic programming and graph-form representations are explored in evolutionary programming. A mix of both linear chromosomes and trees is explored in gene expression programming. Once the genetic representation and the fitness function are defined, AGAR proceeds to initialize a population of solutions and then to improve it through repetitive application of the mutation, crossover, inversion and selection operators. Initialization. The population size depends on the nature of the problem, but typically contains several hundreds or thousands of possible solutions. Often, the initial population is generated randomly, allowing the entire range of possible solutions. Occasionally, the solutions may be seeded in areas where optimal solutions are likely to be found. Selection. During each successive generation, a proportion of the existing population is selected to breed a new generation. Individual solutions are selected through a fitness-based process where fitter solutions are typically more likely to be selected. Certain selection methods rate the fitness of each solution and preferentially select the best solutions. Other methods rate only a random sample of the population, as the former process may be very time-consuming. The fitness function is defined over the genetic representation and measures the quality of the represented solution. The fitness function is always problem-dependent. For instance, in the knapsack problem, one wants to maximize the total value of objects that can be put in a knapsack of some fixed capacity. A representation of a solution might be an array of bits, where each bit represents a different object, and the value of the bit represents whether or not the object is in the knapsack. Not every such representation is valid, as the size of objects may exceed the capacity of the knapsack. The fitness of the solution is the sum of values of all objects in the knapsack if the representation is valid, or zero otherwise. In some problems, it is hard or even impossible to define the fitness expression. In these cases, A simulation may be used to determine the fitness function value of a phenotype, or even interactive genetic algorithms are used. Genetic operators. The next step is to generate a second-generation population of solutions from those selected through a combination of genetic operators, crossover, and mutation. For each new solution to be produced, a pair of parent solutions is selected for breeding from the pool selected previously. By producing a child solution using the above methods of crossover and mutation, a new solution is created which typically shares many of the characteristics of its parents. New parents are selected for each new child, and the process continues until a new population of solutions of appropriate size is generated. Although reproduction methods that are based on the use of two parents are more biology-inspired, some research suggests that more than two parents generate higher quality chromosomes. These processes ultimately result in the next generation population of chromosomes that is different from the initial generation. Generally, the average fitness will have increased by this procedure for the population, since only the best organisms from the first generation is selected for breeding, along with a small proportion of less fit solutions. These less fit solutions ensure genetic diversity within the genetic pool of the parents and therefore ensure the genetic diversity of the subsequent generation of children. Opinion is divided over the importance of crossover versus mutation. There are many references in Fogel that support the importance of mutation-based search. Although crossover and mutation are known as the main genetic operators, it is possible to use other operators such as regrouping, colonization, extinction, or migration in genetic algorithms. It is worth tuning parameters such as the mutation probability, crossover probability, and population size to find reasonable settings for the problem class being worked on. A very small mutation rate may lead to genetic drift. A recombination rate that is too high may lead to premature convergence of the genetic algorithm. A mutation rate that is too high may lead to loss of good solutions, unless elitist selection is employed. Termination. This generational process is repeated until her termination condition has been reached. Common terminating conditions are: a solution is found that satisfies minimum criteria, fixed number of generations reached, allocated budget reached, the highest ranking solution's fitness is reaching or has reached a plateau such that successive iterations no longer produce better results. Manual inspection. Combinations of the above. The building block hypothesis. Genetic algorithms are simple to implement, but their behavior is difficult to understand. In particular, it is difficult to understand why these algorithms frequently succeed at generating solutions of high fitness when applied to practical problems. The building block hypothesis consists of a description of a heuristic that performs adaptation by identifying and recombining building blocks, i.e., low-order, low-defining length schemata with above-average fitness. A hypothesis that a genetic algorithm performs adaptation by implicitly and efficiently implementing this heuristic. Goldberg describes the heuristic as follows. Short, low-order, and highly fit schemata are sampled, recombined, crossed over, and resampled to form strings of potentially higher fitness. In a way, by working with these particular schemata, the building blocks, we have reduced the complexity of our problem. Instead of building high-performance strings by trying every conceivable combination, we construct better and better strings from the best partial solutions of past samplings. Because highly fit schemata of low defining length and low order play such an important role in the action of genetic algorithms, we have already given them a special name: building blocks. Just as a child creates magnificent fortresses through the arrangement of simple blocks of wood, so does a genetic algorithm seek near-optimal performance through the juxtaposition of short, low-order, high-performance schemata, or building blocks. Limitations. There are limitations of the use of a genetic algorithm compared to alternative optimization algorithms. Repeated fitness function evaluation for complex problems is often the most prohibitive and limiting segment of artificial evolutionary algorithms. Finding the optimal solution to complex high-dimensional, multimodal problems often requires very expensive fitness function evaluations. In real-world problems such as structural optimization problems, a single function evaluation may require several hours to several days of complete simulation. Typical optimization methods cannot deal with such types of problem. In this case, it may be necessary to forego an exact evaluation and use an approximated fitness that is computationally efficient. It is apparent that amalgamation of approximate models may be one of the most promising approaches to convincingly use GAR to solve complex real-life problems. Genetic algorithms do not scale well with complexity. That is, where the number of elements which are exposed to mutation is large, there is often an exponential increase in search space size. This makes it extremely difficult to use the technique on problems such as designing an engine, a house or plane. In order to make such problems tractable to evolutionary search, they must be broken down into the simplest representation possible. Hence we typically see evolutionary algorithms encoding designs for fan blades instead of engines, building shapes instead of detailed construction plans, and airfoils instead of whole aircraft designs. The second problem of complexity is the issue of how to protect parts that have evolved to represent good solutions from further destructive mutation, particularly when their fitness assessment requires them to combine well with other parts. The better solution is only in comparison to other solutions. As a result, the stop criterion is not clear in every problem. In many problems, gas may have a tendency to converge towards local optima or even arbitrary points rather than the global optimum of the problem. This means that it does not know how to sacrifice short-term fitness to gain longer-term fitness. The likelihood of this occurring depends on the shape of the fitness landscape. Certain problems may provide an easy ascent towards a global optimum, others may make it easier for the function to find the local optima. This problem may be alleviated by using a different fitness function, increasing the rate of mutation, or by using selection techniques that maintain a diverse population of solutions. Although the no-free lunch theorem proves that there is no general solution to this problem, a common technique to maintain diversity is to impose a niche penalty, wherein any group of individuals of sufficient similarity have a penalty added, which will reduce the representation of that group in subsequent generations, permitting other individuals to be maintained in the population. This trick, however, may not be effective, depending on the landscape of the problem. Another possible technique would be to simply replace part of the population with randomly generated individuals, when most of the population is too similar to each other. Diversity is important in genetic algorithms because crossing over a homogeneous population does not yield new solutions. In evolution strategies and evolutionary programming, diversity is not essential because of a greater reliance on mutation. Operating on dynamic datasets is difficult, as genomes begin to converge early on towards solutions which may no longer be valid for later data. Several methods have been proposed to remedy this by increasing genetic diversity somehow and preventing early convergence, either by increasing the probability of mutation when the solution quality drops, or by occasionally introducing entirely new, randomly generated elements into the gene pool. Again, evolution strategies and evolutionary programming can be implemented with a so-called comma strategy, in which parents are not maintained and new parents are selected only from offspring. This can be more effective on dynamic problems. GAS cannot effectively solve problems in which the only fitness measure is a single right-wrong measure, as there is no way to converge on the solution. In these cases, a random search may find a solution as quickly as a GAR. However, if the situation allows the success-failure trial to be repeated giving different results, then the ratio of successes to failures provides a suitable fitness measure for specific optimization problems and problem instances. Other optimization algorithms may be more efficient than genetic algorithms in terms of speed of convergence. Alternative and complementary algorithms include evolution strategies, evolutionary programming, simulated annealing, Gaussian adaptation, hill climbing, and swarm intelligence, and methods based on integer linear programming. The suitability of genetic algorithms is dependent on the amount of knowledge of the problem. Well-known problems often have better, more specialized approaches.